Hello, everyone. The topic for the day is industrial relations. Remember, we are talking about relations and we are talking about industry together, right? So, industry can be synonymous with organization, it can be synonymous with a corporate office. So, what is the relation? What are we looking into it between which two people or which two parties? Essentially, it is the employees. Remember, again, essentially, it is the employees and the top management. So top management are the top rung of the employees, and then we are talking about the lower rung of the employees, whom are popularly known as staff. Probably at certain organizations, they have been nomenclatures as workers or laborers, the case might be. So the agenda for the day is to understand the concepts. We will start to define it. What are the objectives of industrial relations? Definitely, yes, the importance of industrial relations, the role of three actors. What are the three actors we'll be taking around it when the government comes into the picture? Causes of the poor industrial relations, developing of sound industrial relations. So this particular video will be a little bit tad longer, so please bear with me. We will discuss all the topics: conduct, code, disciplinary codes that is looking into it, objective, the code of discipline, the principles of code of discipline, the various approaches. There are basically three approaches that we'll discuss around here. Then are the parties to industrial relations as the case. So let us begin with the meaning and the concept that I want around it. So remember the two words that I said, industry and relation. So industry refers to any productive activities in which individuals or group of people are engaged. Remember, I said industry can be corporates, can be companies, can be offices. It's basically a group of people working towards to attain one particular goal. By relation, we means the relationship that exists between the industry in the relation between the top rung and the lower rung, the employer and the worker, if I may say so. Remember, in corporations and big corporates, there are no one particular owners. We have shareholders patterns. There might be majority shareholder pattern. So it's a top rungs, people who manages the board of governors that run that particular corporate body. That is what we are talking around it. So term industrial relationship explains between employees and management. Again and again, I'm trying to refer to it, which is directly or indirectly a union employer relationships, which I have said. So the lower rung of the societies, wherein people might call it staff, laborer or workers. So basically, if there's a disparity, bigger disparity, people like to think with a point of view of, let's say, suspicion or anything. So remove those suspicious activities or suspicious feelings altogether. We have to have a smooth industrial relations. Industrial relations are relation between employees and the employers within the settings of the corporate, within the settings of the organizations, and it is perfectly defined. It's a formal relationship we are talking about. So it arises where when there's a general partnership between individual workers, between workers and their employers, between relation between employers, relationship between employers and workers within the organization, and so on and so forth. So the term industrial relations has a broad, remember, a particularly broad, in fact, also a narrow outlook. So originally, industrial relation was broadly defined to include the relationship between the employer and the employees that the case might be deeming. So the relationship which arises at, and remember, at and out of the workplace generally includes the relation between individual workers, between workers and their employers. So we have relationship among the workers, and then in inter workers in terms of vertical things. So we have something called horizontal relationship of the employees altogether. Remember, this is horizontal. And then if we have the relationship which is also vertical in nature, which is between the employer and the workers around it. The relationship of employers and workers have to be there in the organizations to promote respective interests. Workers need to earn their salary, the employer needs to look for make profitability the main agenda. So industrial relation also include the process through which relationships are expressed, such as collective bargaining, workers participation in management, and so on and so forth. Where does it the decision making comes in? Grievance and dispute settlement. The management conflict between employers, workers, and trade unions is when on where it arises is important. So definition: the industrial relations, also called as a labor management employee things. This is very important. It is a labor management thing. So employer-employee relationships. What are the employer-employee relationships we are talking about? It that significantly cover up all the collective bargaining. Remember, major bargaining about productivity, major target that needs to be set, major bargaining about the wages that needs to be incurred upon it. What are the overtime facilities, and what are the parameters of awarding the overtime things should be catered to. Then comes the concern within the system regarding rules, procedures. So what are the safety equipment that has been extended? What are the welfare measures that the organization could do extend to the workers, used by unions and employees to determine rewards and employments and other effort that is there. So this is very important as far as definition is concerned. So parties, remember my agenda for the day and covering all the things in this slide. Parties to employee. What are the three parties that we're looking into? One is employee, then is employers, and the government, which we need to go around it. This is very important. Now, therein we come about the employer associations and the unions. The union part we talk about it. About we have the employer association, and the government will come with the arbitration issues in terms of legal system. We are talking about courts and tribunal. This is the crux of the industrial relation. So, what are the parties? Remember, the three parties is the worker and the employer, and the regulatory body in form of the government. So these are the three parties that we talk about it. What has been done? We have the trade unions, we have the employee associations, and the tribunals that is there for the courts to settle any sort of dispute. The objective, the safeguard the interest of the labor and the management by securing the highest level, so that nobody has upper hand during the bargaining process, neither the employer nor the laborer or nor the worker, if you may say so. Why? Because at the end of the day, if the employer is not making profit and he's been exploited by the labor union altogether, the employer will wind up the business, and the winding of the business is not prudent for the government, because that means there would be anarchy due to lack of employment and so on and so forth. So there has to be a definite balance between it for the all sections in the industry in which participation takes place. Next, to avoid industrial conflict or strife and develop harmonious relations. This is very true, that comes into place to raise productivity of a higher level in terms of employer, that the government would be looking into it for full employment by lessening the tendency to of high turnover. High turnover means people quitting on the jobs and frequency of absenteeism. So there has to be certain behavioral modeling that needs to be taken care of from the sides of the employees to improve the economic condition of the workers in an existing state of industrial management and political government. Definitely yes, there has to be employee welfare measure that needs to be taken care of. There has to be other facilities that has to be extended. Let us talk about the basic facilities that can be extended. Is the canteen facilities having subsidized food, requiring proper precautions for workplace safety as such, to protect management and labor interests by securing mutual relations of the both the parties. That is of the vital importance of the objective. To avoid dispute between management and labor, create harmonizing relations between the groups, and the productivity should never be hampered. The productivity should absolutely improve, and this can only be done when there is a mutual trust, mutual faith of all the parties involved in the productions. Ensure full employment and reduce absenteeism. Now this needs to be taken care of by the employers itself. The employer are going to give a full honest day's wage, and thereby expect that there should be no or absolutely less absenteeism. This will impact the productivity or the profitability of the organization. To provide better wages and living condition, have a give some degree of dignity to the workers who are working on behalf of the organization. That is a mandatory thing. Why it is there? Because then there will be a perfect coordination between the management and the labor. if it is not only the labor should not be only be viewing the management and extracting all the things from them and probably increasing their coffers, filling it up with money, but the welfare activities will actually make them believe in the management, that the top management is actually aware of the difficulties that the workers or the employees are facing, and thereby making an honest effort to remove them, to bring about the government control of plants where losses are running high. Yes, therefore the losses are running high, our products are produced over the interest altogether, that needs to be taken care of. This is very important, that needs to be taken care of altogether. We have to see that every party involved, be it the employer or the employees, are making some achieving some degree to of their objectives together. Then comes the importance. What is it? First and the foremost thing is the productivity. We have to have an uninterrupted production. This is very true. Until and unless there is an uninterrupted production, until and unless there is a smooth operation of the organization, there has to be goodwill that needs to be prevalent. Otherwise, society will not improve. Reduction in industrial disputes, definitely yes. There should not be any anomalies, there should not be any malified intentions of either of the parties. High morale, yes, true. If things are going good, I believe there would be high morale from both the ends. Employers would be interested to extend certain welfare facilities, extend certain perks and benefit to the employees. The employees on the other hand will be giving their best and improving the productivity. So there is a mental revolutions, there is a reduced wastage. Remember, reduced wastage is reduced cost. Reduced cost means higher profitability. Foster industrial peace is one of the things that needs to be taken care of. Last but not the least would be a sense of democracy among the organization, where everybody thinks that their voice matters, their concerns actually has been taken care of, and so on and so forth. I have already spoken about the three actors. That means the employees and the employees are the pivotal actors. But remember, this is the state where it is the government which acts as a balance, as a acts as a mediator, acts as a regulator altogether, and that is the reason why I have kept the government at the middle part of the balance altogether. Three actors to industrial relations are employees, employers, and as the case may be. And let us discuss about the role to reduce the bargaining advantage, not giving any chips to anyone, and neither to the employers nor to the employees. Remember, every stakeholder has their own priorities, and none of their priorities are no way less than one another. So to secure better terms and conditions for the members, both in terms of employers and employees, employees will get a better wage, employers would have a better productivity and profitability. To obtain a status in the workers, or the workers for in his or her work, or in plain word, giving dignity to themselves, is what we are looking into it. And yes, but not the least thing is being collective participation in decision making. That makes the things very easier. Once everybody decides on a decision making process, when everybody participates on a decision making process, you remember, believe me or not, the implementation becomes a cakewalk. So that is what the role is all about. It. So let us talk about the role of the employers. First and foremost thing, keep their employees motivated. No doubt about it. A motivated employee will reap in much of a benefit. It does not mean only productivity, it does not mean only profitability, but it also means harmony in the society. There will be things that the employer can take in care of if the business is running on its own. So ensuring loyalty from the customer is the role of an employers are looking that people he can count upon. Negotiating the conditions of employment with the trade union leaders. The trade union leaders once needs to be taken into consideration. They have to come on board, and if you earn their faith, if you earn their trust, operations in the business becomes automatic, almost automatic altogether. And sharing decision making, being transparent with the employees is the last but not the least role of the employers. Now, the role of the government. What are the role of the government? First and foremost, they are the labor policy. So, what are the labor policy? Basic thing would be a minimum wage that we goes around it. What is the minimum wage that is required for a person to lead a honest life? So, the labor policies. That means they should not be extracted. Certain governments say that one has to work for 8 hour shift. Some might say for 12 hour shift, but depend upon it what are the wages that goes around. We go about it. Certain labor laws says that you have to give them approximately a day off in a week, 1 day off in a week probably, or certain companies says you have to give at least 30 leaves in a year apart from the 1 day of a week. So that needs to be taken care of. Then comes the industrial tribunal. In cases of dispute, the court of the land will decide and come up with an arbitration process and give a fair judgment. And that is what the industrial policy is all about it. Yes, this is important. The causes for poor industrial relation. What is the causes for poor industrial relation? One of the basic causes is your misunderstanding of each other's, misunderstanding of the employer's perspective or the employee's perspective, or the mere fact that there is a sense of distrust among them. That is a very big cause around here. So we need to understand. So these are the main reason, or probably there not be a fair transparency in terms of how wages have been administered. There might be indisciplinary issues. People are not obeying. There's a case of insubordination, unhealthy working condition at the workplace is another thing. Why am I saying unhealthy? It must workplace safety that needs to be taken care of. The lack of human relation skills on the part of the supervisors and the managers. People might be very arrogant, people might be abusing, people might be mistreating the other people. This should not happen. We should be respectful, we should be understanding that all of us are working on behalf of the organization. None of us own the organization. Remember, the betterment of organization will automatically lead to our own improvement in our lifestyle. So desire for workers for higher bonus, this is to be contemplated. Everybody wants a better bargain, right? This is where we need to rationalize things in terms of wages, in terms of daily allowances. No matter how much you give, people will always distrust and they will think this is not the fair share. This needs to be taken care of, and desire for employer to pay as little as something which is considerably opposite to what the demand of the employees are. The employer would like to give little or no disbursement, whereas the employees would be liking to have the higher or more disbursement. So that is what we are going around it, and the reason for causes of poor industrial relation. What are the rest of the causes? Are inadequate welfare facility. Maybe I'm just guessing that there might not be any provisions for potable water also. So how can this be? Forget about being canteen. So similarly, this needs to be taken care of. There are fire hazard that needs to be, the fire extinguisher has to be placed in different kind of or suitable kind of places altogether. Distribution on the share of the gaining of the productivity in case there are improvement in productivity, in case the company is getting more and more orders. How do you go around it? The retrenchment and dismissal, this cannot be done on an ad hoc basis. You know that this, if done on an unfair basis, people perceive it, and then what happens is lockout. Then what happens is strike. We do not aspire to achieve those kind of situation. So strikes and lockout needs to be taken care of. Inter-union rivals in organization where there are more than one, two, three, probably two or three unions, there might be impediment for the in the road of the development of the organization, because whatever one union might accede to it, the other union might oppose altogether. So we need to take care of it. General and economic political environment, what is said, they are nothing but rising prices, strikes by other, general indiscipline having the effect on the attitude of the employees. This is very important. So mental inertia is on the part of the management. People are there in their comfort zone and they would not like to their comfort zone. So developing sound IR. Now, how do we go around? We have understood the causes of poor industrial relationship. So first and foremost thing is to build trust, be transparent, be open, look for industrial peace. Look, don't go for hampering any of the things which goes around it. If you think people are being misjudged, people, if you think things have been very unjust, go out, speak your mind, and try to resolve everything on the table. This can only be happen when we have continuous feedback, when things have been monitored on a regular fashion. And definitely not least, but the last would be a professional approach. Let us stop abusing others, let us stop demeaning others, let us be very professional and very ethical with one another, so that there is an existence of a democratic and a sound trade union. This needs to be understood all. We have the code of discipline. It specifies various obligations of management of the workers with the objective of promoting cooperation. This is the word, the key word is promoting cooperation. That is the code of discipline. To maintain harmonious relations and industrial period, a code of discipline needs to be laid down as to what is the basic code: when to come in, when to go out, when to check in, when to check out, what is to be expected. You should not loiter around the water area, you should not loiter around in your canteen, you should not have. So this basically applies to a host of the company, be it public or private. So objectives, what are the objectives of code of discipline? Number one is to have a peace and order in the system. Why? Because then there will be smooth operation of the company. This will promote altogether what needs to be taken about here. Any criticism at any level of the management, that needs to be taken care of altogether. Avoid work stoppage in the industry. If there are breakdown, probably yes. Other than then, please don't have a human element coming in and stopping the work altogether. Securing a settlement of dispute and grievances about a mutually agreed procedure, something which is to be done on a dialogue basis. Avoiding litigation, facilitating free growth of trade unions is something which we go around it. These needs to be understood again and again. Facilitate a free growth of trade union, eliminate all form of coercion or physical force or intimidations or violence in terms of rules and regulation in implementing them or withholding them back. So this need not be there. This is of vital importance altogether. The principles of codes and discipline, what are there? They are supposed to be no strike at all without a notice, without a prior notice of 48 hours, 72 hours, and so on and so forth. And notice need not be given only to the employer, but also to the administration, the local administration, the provincial administration, as the case might be. No unilateral action should be taken in connection with industrial. So nobody, neither the employees nor the employee can do it. The employer cannot have a lockout altogether without a proper attention or proper notice or proper discussion or deliberation. Employees should not follow to go slow tactics. Let's say a productivity, please don't jump on or abruptly stop the productivity. If not stopping, going slow on the productivity and diminishing the production process slowly and steadily. So no deliberation damage caused to the plant and property. Yes, definitely yes, it's a property of the company, doesn't belong neither to the employer nor to the employees. In fact, any damages are to be punitive actions should be taken. Acts of violation, intimidation, coercions must be restored. The existing machinery of settlement of disputes should be utilized every now and then. Action, remember, action that disturb cordial relation should be avoided altogether. This is the principles of the code of discipline. These needs to be taken. If things are going good, please do not disturb it. If machineries, if there are any dispute, have a proper grievance procedures altogether. So the last, we come to the last concepts of the three approaches that I promised out here. One is the unitary approaches, then the pluralistic approaches, and the Marxist approach as we gone by. In plurality approach, see, look out here. The plurality approach is wherein everything, the word is cooperation. In the unitary approach, the word is authoritarian, and Marxist aid arises with the passage of time. We have the opposite of authoritarianism would be paternalism. The opposite of cooperation would be conflict. The opposite of evolution would be revolution. And look at it. This is industrial relationship. This is industrial relationship as the case might be. It is input, conversion, and the output. That is what we go around it. What is the problem? In unitary approach, it is the human resource management. In Marxist approach, it is the labor control process altogether. And there has to be a cooperative method. spend some time on this particular slide, slowly, steadily understand what is unitary approach, what is pluralistic approach, what is Marxist approach. Unitary approach is to be going by the individual preference. Pluralistic approach is where we take consideration of the other people also. Marxist approach we adopt as on when on basis things move in the right direction. In case we are moving down a wrong direction, we might so we'll talk about the unitary approach altogether. Industrial relation is grounded in mutual cooperation, individual treatment, teamwork, and shared goals. So unions cooperate with management, and the management has the right to manage is accepted because there is no other way that comes around it. So we talk about the unitary management where there is a person who takes into the operation in their own hand. So assumption is common interest and promotion is the factor. Nobody wants to change that assumption. Everybody thinks in a unitary approach, everybody is looking at a greater good of every one of the stakeholders. So there are no strikes at all. It is a reactive, remember, it is a reactive industrial relation where you have the faith in the leadership. They seek direct negotiation with employees. Yes, definitely, wherein if there are any dispute, it's one-to-one talk between employers. In the pluralistic approach, it is all the other way around. It perceives that organization is of competing interest. The employer wants to shell out less, the employee want to extract the most in terms of rewards and perks and benefits are concerned. uh, and this is only one of the examples that I've given you. So trade union is a legitimate representative of the employees interest which comes around it. We need to go about the stability factors in industrial relations, a product of concession and compromise between the management and the union. Conflict between management and workers is inevitable. It is supposed to be there in a pluralistic approach because neither of the party trust each other. So we need to have a conducive for innovation and growth for a conflict to happen, and probably this will automatically relate to a better output altogether. So stronger, remember, stronger union is. We come to the last concept of Marxist thing. Regarded conflict as pluralistic is what Marxist approach is. Marxist says conflict is a product of capitalistic society. This is where we think it's a feeling of feeling among the employees altogether, the maximum population in that particular arena altogether. We talk about the conflict arising due to the divisions in the society between those who own resources and those who have labor to offer. So it is a two class of people or two class of segment of society wherein some people own the resources and the other people do not have any resources apart from their own labor that they come to contribute and probably bargain with. For Marxists, all strikes are potential. Yes, because it means for Marxism only through strikes you can get your things done or exceeded. He regards state intervention via legislation, the government intervention via legislation, the creation of industrial tribunal as a supporting management interest rather than balancing between the competing things. So the government is supposed to be a fabrication of giving relevant support to the parties altogether and not the adjudicator or arbitrator in any of the dispute that arise. With this, I come to an end of this presentation. Thank you for watching this video.